You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is, let's call it Wednesday. 24th day of January, 2018. My, how time flies. Pretty soon it'll be December 24th. Before you know it. Anyway, welcome to the show. So glad you're here. I'm flying solo today. John will be here, but Michael was out today, so I filled in the live training room. And we did something a little bit different. And I intended to record both hours. I managed to get an hour. How about that? And I'll be posting that later for everyone to kind of take a look at. All right? Give you an idea of what goes on in the training room. It's a little different when Michael's there. And when Bert and I are there, it's sort of a slower pace. We try to pull questions really out of the audience. And so, anyway, watch the video if you have an interest. Take the trial. All right? So happy Wednesday. It is hump day, and that means that depending upon your time zone, you may have less hours to work this week than you've already worked. For others, you'll cross that hump here in an hour or two. But the good news is basically we're on the downward slide into the weekend once again. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. To those who are here for the first time, a special welcome to you. I've got to try to get that browser up again on the YouTube room. If you can't see the chart I have up right now, it's a shame. But we can fix that. Go to cfrn.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered all the way through the end of the month, which means you can join the show each day with one-click access. February 1st, you'll have to register again. Or you can go to youtube.com/CFRN/live, bookmark that page, and you'll have one-click access every day. Now on YouTube, there's a separate chat room. And I really do try to monitor them both, but, you know, give me a second. Let me just, I know the guys over there on the YouTube, they feel left out. That's what I'm thinking. Let me see if I can open up that chat room today. It could happen. Funny thing happened yesterday. My internet service provider of the fat pipe called me and said, "Did you realize that your current contract is expiring?" I said, "No, I did not." She said, "And we'll be forced to charge you a much higher rate." I said, "Wow. Is there any chance you have a solution?" She goes, "Well, yes, I could offer you more speed at a lower price." I'm like, "Oh, gee, I don't know if I want that. More speed, lower price. How long I got to go on the hook for? 3 years. How about 2? With a rider that if I ever move into an office that you don't provide internet to, I'm off the hook." She said, "Okay." I said, "Now before we get carried away, let's run a speed test. I'm paying for 150. I'm getting bumped to 200, but I'm paying for 150. I got 7. The speed test came back with, first it came back with 70, and then she said, "Oh, well, let me adjust a few things on my end." And then we did it again. It came back at a 7. So I spent much time on the phone trying to correct it, and my Saturday will now be filled up with a coax cable guy tromping around. Got these boots they wear, tromping around they don't put little booties on either, with the big old tool belt, you know, trying to squeeze his way into my office and behind my desk. I have this massive desk and not such a large office, but I do have a view of America's largest city park. And so while I, a slender young man of a certain age, fit comfortably back here, those guys, boy, they struggle. And but at least that encourages them to get in and get out as quickly as possible. So I'll let you know how it all spins out. Okay, I am currently looking at the video feed on YouTube, and it is absolutely horrible. I mean, it's a blur. Somebody over on YouTube, help me out here. Does it always look like that? Because the last time I looked at it, it didn't look like that. I mean, that's so blurry you can barely see it. Well, I can't fix it on the fly, but at least now I'm aware of the problem. Doggone it. Just when you think you got it all worked out. Okay, you can still see what I'm pointing at. Now, when it saves itself later and becomes a video available at youtube.com/CFRN, it'll look, oh, wait a minute. What's happening? Oh, it just refreshed, and now I have a crystal clear picture. Thanks, YouTube. All right. Now, in the bottom right-hand corner of that screen, what you see is my time, okay? I'm in Phoenix. We run CFRN and all other entities off of East Coast time. So my charts, like you can see, this candle here opened at 12 noon. Okay. Now, let's go to 9 o'clock. This was the 9 o'clock candle. Now, I drew this as the opening range, but actually it was quite a bit smaller. This line really should have been up here. But I was in the room by myself trying to answer questions, do some different things. But you see what happened? Now, consider this, okay? And this isn't about bragging, this isn't about magic, and it's a voodoo or any of that other stuff. But on Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, the CFRN partners got an email, as they do each Monday, and we established what we believed would be the highest price for the week on the S&P. As you can see, let's see, today's Wednesday, so the 23rd was Tuesday. So actually back on Monday, we broke up into this range between these two upper zones, and it took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What do? We ran up and we tagged it. That candle missed it by 1 tick. That candle overshot it by 1 tick. Okay. Now, I just got to ask, if you're not a partner, if you haven't been through the mentoring program, if you don't have access to the weekly trading zones, having that knowledge Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern before Wall Street wakes up, could that possibly have helped you with your trading this week? And if you lay the Concierge Trade Alerts up on top of the weekly trading zones, not to mention our methodology and our indicators and all the other stuff, you know, if you haven't taken the free trial, you should go to apply.cfrn.net. It's not the same old, same old. It will not resemble in any way any of the live training rooms that you've ever been in. Okay, we take a somewhat of a holistic approach, if you will. After we ran up and hit the highest weekly zone this morning, and we printed this candle, we said, okay, then price should drop to at least this area. And it did. Well, where will it drop next? Well, probably to this area. And it did. And I drew this little box. You see the bounce? Now it's coming back down into the box again. Okay? Is it going to the zone below 26.27? The fact that it's come this far, it's going to run into some support here and some more support here, but there's a pretty good chance, let's not call it a chance, let's call it a high probability, that yes, price will, if not during this radio program, by the time we talk tomorrow, I'm going to say there's a high probability that price will touch 26.27. Okay? All right. Enough about that. Okay. Gold. Hey, how about that gold? Look at this. Last night's Concierge Trade Alert on gold. See how price came up to the zone? Those are 30-minute candles, so you can count how many hours, 2 candles per hour. It finally broke free of that magnetic pull that the zones have, for lack of a better term. And from 1344, it shot up to 1354, consolidated at the zone, reached, couldn't make it, came back to confirm that this is going to be bedrock support for another leg. What is this line? In the room, I said, until price gets above that, I don't want to take any long trades. In fact, in the room this morning, I singled out that high and I said, I think this could be the high of the session. but we'll see. So from here to here was $1,000 per contract on the Concierge Trade Alerts. And I'm just go ahead and show them to you now and get that out of the way. And then we'll go take a look at the numbers from around the world. And I told John, since I was flying solo, to come as soon as he could. So let me endeavor. Okay, somebody at YouTube said it looks good over here. Outstanding. Thank you very much for that feedback. What the heck am I doing? Oh. Look and see if John's here. He's already here. Hey, John, welcome to the show. Okay. Oh, that's right. He's going to jingle my phone when he's ready to come in. I forgot. We had a plan, man. Oh no! It's just rolled over my cord. Okay. So since John's not here yet, show you this real quick. Get ready to take a screenshot if you want to take a screenshot. Okay. This is the email that went out last night to the subscribers. Okay, here it comes. Dun, dun, dun. One thing that's cool about the YouTube live stream, let's say you show up 30 minutes late, like a VCR, you can back it up to the beginning of the show. I mean, we're still broadcasting live in real time, but if you want, you can actually back it up, which is pretty cool. Okay, these are the alerts that went out last night. So if you want a screenshot, grab it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. God, I don't know why that thing flashes like... Is it flashing on your screen? See, on my monitoring screen, so that I can see what you see, that thing is flashing like crazy. It's flashing on your screen too? Yeah, you know, I got to figure out what causes that, because that could cause somebody, you know, strobe lights and that kind of thing. Never mind, I'm not a doctor. Okay, so now you know what they are. Let's peep at the S&P. S&P, we said to consider buying 2847. 2847. And did price come back to test? It did, and then it ran up to, we'll call it 2855. Okay, so from 2847. $255, that would be 8 points times $50 per point. That would be $400 per contract available. Now, we don't get out at the swing high or swing low, because we teach everyone to trail their stop. And if you trail your stop, you're going to leave something on the table. That's just how it works. And you got to be okay with that. You can't cry because, oh my God, I could have had all that, you know. So, all right. Now, did we have a sell side on the S&P? Of course we did. Has it been triggered? What do you think? I think I gotta move the box to show it to you. Maybe not. Consider selling 28.35. Come on down. All right, that should be it. 28.35. Yep. Okay. Sell 28.35. So you had opportunity. This is what Mike Reed would call two-sided action. However, if you got your goal on the long trade, you should be fishing or something, not taking the short trade. Okay? Because it triggered and then it drew back, and now it's still trying to press through. Whereas this was just a smooth move up. Okay. John, you there yet? Okay, he's going to check on my phone. Let's take a look at the numbers around the world. Take a look at a couple of headlines. Take a look at the old Bitcoin. These are the cash markets, not futures. Here in the U.S., the Dow's up 24 points. NASDAQ taking it on the chin, down 50. S&P 500 down 5.5. And the Russell 2000 down a little over 9 points. Movers and shakers are the NASDAQ down more than 0.5%. And the Russell down more than 0.5%. In the commodity basket, we had crude oil inventories today. Crude, there was a draw, and so prices have risen. Currently, crude is up 39 cents, which is over 0.5%. Trading 64.86 last. Gold up $16.20. That's a little over 1%. Trading, it's almost 1.25%. Trading 13.52.90 last. As you recall, John talked about a potential breakout in gold today, and by golly. And you know, someone asked me this morning in the live training room. We were up in here, and as we started to do this, they said, do you think this is the breakout in gold that John was talking about? And I said, actually, I think this was the breakout. And it happened last night on the London Open. That was the breakout. And early in the session, I said, I think this potentially could be high of the day. And we don't want to try getting long until we close above this line. And then our target would, of course, be up here at the zone. Okay. Asian markets. The Nikkei down 183 points at the close, 0.75%. Shanghai up 14. And the Hang Seng up 27. Make it 28. No movers. Actually, the Nikkei, yeah, down 0.75%. All right. European markets, ooh, blood in the streets. FTSE down 88 points. That's over 1%. DAX, after hitting historic highs yesterday, down 145 points. That's a little over 1%. And the CAC also down 40 points, 0.75%. So in Asia, we're mixed. Europe, blood in the streets. And here at home, we're not for the Dow being positive by 26 points. The color of the day here would be red as well. So there you have that. Now, let's peep in on Bitcoin as I bring up the charts at cryptodailyinfo.com, a proud member of the CT Global Media family, which you'll be hearing a lot more about here in the next couple of days as we head into the end of our pre-sale. All right. You gotta hand it to the buyers, man. They're fighting. Now, I said this the other day, but for those who might not have been here, you know, from 0 to within a whisker of 20,000, where is the Fibonacci 50% retracement? Right there. $10,000. Doesn't get much easier to figure than that. Now, something I hope you'll find as fascinating as I do. Now that price went from 0 to 20,000 and pulls back to 10,000, we can go, oh, that's a 50% Fibonacci retracement, right? Okay, so it makes sense why this came back here. 50% Fibonacci retracements are very common. But look what happened over here at 10,000. You see how it was just jamming and rocking and rolling and bebopping, and then all of a sudden it hit turbulence for 2 days. It's pretty volatile turbulence before it continued the upward trajectory. Does that tell you that somewhere down the road you might be visiting that number again? In my world, it does. Okay? So, John, did I hear you?
Hey, hello.
Hey, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us.
Hi.
Take a look at my, you got, what do I got going on here? I got too much going on. Can you see
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, John. Can you hear me?
Okay. Hi, good day.
Can you see my chart?
Yeah, I can, yeah.
Look where price ran on the S&P today, right up to the highest weekly trading zone, basically to the tick.
Well, I didn't know where the zone was,
I
didn't know where the zone was, but we sold it right up there.
I send them to you every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern.
Okay, my apologies. I didn't see that, but we got it. We got it anyway. That's the point. And I actually said, I actually put a rather unusual alert out today, saying I think the highs are in for maybe anywhere from a few hours to a few days to maybe longer. I think this just about did it. And remember, I said we get a correction towards the end of the week.
Yep.
It's absolutely happening right on cue. And we actually put out an alert yesterday and the day before, saying extreme upside move in the metals are imminent, and went long the gold, silver, the whole works along. This
morning in the live training room, when gold put in this green candle here, someone in the training room says, "Hey, do you think this is the gold breakout that John mentioned on the radio yesterday?" And I said, "No, I think the gold breakout was here where our Concierge Trade Alert was last night at 1344. I think you've seen the most of the move, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is potentially the high of the day, and we don't want to take any long trades until we get up into this area."
No, I think you're right. And actually, we did say quite emphatically, agreeing with Ed, I think it was, who said, the 1344 was a very important level to break out. And
I think tomorrow's Ed Day, right? Yeah, it is.
And so, this is it. There could be look, you're right. There could be a bit of a pullback. These guys don't like the market running away from them during the night when they're not in it, and they have a tendency to want to bring it back.
Look where it happened, right on the London Open. You know what? I can't. I've tried for a long time to impress upon people that the London Open, while it's not as volatile and herky-jerky as the Wall Street Open, it is certainly smoother sailing. In other words, if the London Open takes the S&P higher, there's a chance it may continue higher. If it takes gold higher, you don't have all these forces tugging back and forth. It just, it's like you're reading the textbooks how it's supposed to behave. But then again, who wants to get up at 3 a.m. Eastern to trade a market? And I've always said, for my guys who live on the West Coast, best thing you could do is stay up till midnight, trade a couple of hours off the London Open, go to bed, and your day's over, So anyway,
I was actually up watching the whole thing till about 5 o'clock this morning. And, so
you're amazing.
We did a few in and out trades, so it was a good night. This is one of those days where you come in several thousand up on the day before the day even starts. And that's a good place to be.
So on the last leg up, gold is setting at a shallow 24% retracement. It's also setting right on top of this week's weekly trading zone. So
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out. The silver is up 50 cents, which is something I predicted a few days ago. That we'd have a big breakout in the silver, and as I also said, getting over 17 again would be a big deal. It actually came down and tested the 17 last night, and then it took off in earnest. And it could be at 18 quicker than you think, even heading that way later today.
Well, if it continues to consolidate like this, right here in this weekly zone, then I do think, if not today, then tomorrow and into Friday, we do see another leg that potentially takes us up to the next zone.
Yeah, we did actually sell the nuggets and right at the high this morning, and I should have bought the dust, but I mean that's an automatic anyway for us. Every time we sell those, we reverse into the dust. So there was a bit of a pop in the dust, and right now I think the nugget and J-Nug are kind of near the lows of the day. I just got to I had a reset there. I'm just going through a kind of a procedure at the moment where the I can't update. But last time I looked, the nuggets had pulled back quite a bit. I'd be buying back into these nuggets actually probably right about now, and selling the dust if you've got them. The other thing is the grains. We went long the wheat, and that took off rather strongly. I really believe the grain lows are in now, and the wheat is actually putting in a pretty formidable bottom, and it looks like it might, just like the silver. Remember we said yesterday the silver might actually start pulling ahead of the gold? That's basically what's happened. The wheat is pulling ahead of the beans and co right now, and corn is still a little bit subdued, but oats has been absolutely phenomenal. It's gone from 249 or something like that, all the way up to almost 280. That's a really, really big move, and that does bode very well for the for real bull market in the grains. And I think that the market is getting a little bit spooked by the action in the metals.
Is money flowing out of Bitcoin and into gold, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. Now we're breaking down. By the way, we're also long the VIXs in a pretty big way. We've actually been buying them almost daily for the last 3 days. Buying more on the way up, and now the market's breaking down to new lows. So it really is. The reason why I say be ready for the gold to go higher today, what I think could happen is we're really going to have a bad sell-off today. This is sort of this is the kind of sell-off that catches everybody out. There's no bids really. The bids are very lacking today, and a few things have happened. Texas Instruments broke down, opened down this morning. United, all the transports broke down, so the highs are in on the transports, and I haven't checked it yet, but we may not have confirmed Dow theory buy signal yesterday either. So if we do break down, and look, we're not down that much at the moment. It looks kind of worse than it really is, but we are negative almost across the board now, after being about 140 higher on the Dow. So we're in danger of putting in a pretty formidable a higher level key reversal than we got before. And this one absolutely has divergences, more divergences than the last time. So it's something to be very careful of. And because as I actually put out an alert saying that I thought the VIXs looked dynamically bullish. If you look at the daily chart on the VIXs, you'll see that we could really go up a lot, possibly 5 or 10 points up in the VXX, and that's gonna knock the market down, considerably. So but it may just be a few day event once again. It could get knocked down into the end of the week, possibly open lower Monday or Tuesday, might have a reversal back up on Tuesday or something. So I think I seem to remember a lot of times going into the end of January, there's a few iffy days as to whether the month is going to close on the highs or not. I think we still could close on the highs, near the highs of the month, if we could get knocked down for a few days and then rebound.
Let's say at the end of the month, John, we have a punishing few days, but the month overall is positive. So how does the adage go for that?
Well, it goes okay, but I don't like. You have to be very, very careful of months. Any month close, even when the close is on the high, because I'll never forget. I think I told you this before on the show. In 2008, I think it was in the summer, on July, August, the beans closed at a new all-time record around $18 a bushel, and $1,800 a bushel, and everything looked fantastic. It was a Friday afternoon, and then, by the way, I think we got the reverse of that going on today. It was like a Friday afternoon, and the grains were soaring, and the market was tanking, and all of a sudden there was an inversion. And Monday morning, I think the grains opened limit down, or really down sharply. That was the end of the bull market. I mean, that was it. So, I mean, it couldn't have looked better. You had an up week, an up day, an up month, and everything was right on the highs, but there was a little bit of a sell late in the day, and that was enough to knock it down over the weekend. Probably rained or something. So that's something no matter how. I mean, in a way, we came in this morning looking kind of invincible, and it was a little bit hard to short the market early on, but we nevertheless went in there with our disciplines right at the highs, and went for it. And we're down 50 on the Nasdaq right now, going lower actually as we speak. And look, Nvidia.
This was our highest weekly trading zone on the NQ right here.
Right. We got to 7,000 this morning, by the way.
Yeah.
And
we did.
Yeah. So 7,002. I think we put a sell in at just 66,998, and we also put a sell on Nvidia at 240. It's now 235. We got a very good look. We did a fantastic job on LABU. After running it all the way up to 110, we got short at 109, and it's at 102 right now. And looks like it's been down to 100, so that's $9 potentially right there. And we actually did a fairly nimble thing in Netflix. We shorted it on the news, covered it yesterday at 250, so it was about 256 down to 250. We went long yesterday, and we sold it at above 205 this morning.
So the CEO at Netflix, Reed Hastings, how his contemporaries, his peers, how do they see him? I've heard some controversial things over time.
He's kind of an unusual guy. But
in what way? Not unusual like John McAfee. Not that unusual, right?
No, he's about halfway between normal and John McAfee.
All right.
So but he's a kind of a quirky guy, but he's formidable in what he's accomplished.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
yeah.
I think he went over to India for a while and did the Beatles thing with the Maharaja and all. So,
he did. So I didn't know that.
I think he did. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like that guy behind Twitter, the Howard Litzen. He's another sort of a quirky guy, but he's very clever guy. He built up a huge business.
They're starting to show commercials on TV that they're vague. They don't come right out and say it, but they're TV commercials for NordVPN, which is a virtual private network. If you're in one country and you want to watch content in another country, you need NordVPN because you can log in from any place in the world. So people in the UK cannot.
The reviews on Nord aren't very good.
They aren't. They aren't.
No.
Okay.
No.
And do you know of a good one?
I do. It's called Freedom. FRE. Freedom with an E on the end. Freedom. It's very good. It's about $5 a month instead of $4. But they have a bulletproof package that's about 120 a year, and that picks up just about everything. You know, it makes you fairly invincible, and it's constantly out there all the time working for you. And what's cool about it, with a lot of these VPNs, you know, when you reboot or something, it doesn't automatically kick in. This one does. It always locks on. I'm quite impressed with it. And it's Finnish. It's developed by some Finnish guys.
Those, did you? I'm sure you probably didn't see this, but if you ever get a chance, you really should. Hey guys, I know there's profanity in there, and you know, come on, let's be adults. We may not use profanity. You and I, as Christians and believers, may not use profanity, but the world does. And so, I mean, there's a show. It was a Netflix original called Lilyhammer. Remember the first time you ever heard of Lilyhammer?
Yeah, the Olympics.
The Olympics, right. So there's this New York mafia tough guy, and somebody tells a lie on him to his higher ups, and so they try to assassinate him. And he goes like, oh my God, my own people are going to kill me. So he goes to the FBI and says, look, I want to turn state's evidence, and I want to get witness protection. And so he testifies, they give him witness protection, and they dump him in Lilyhammer, of all places. And it doesn't take but about 3 episodes, and he's bought a bar, he's a kingpin, he's building his own criminal empire in Lilyhammer. And it's fun, it's entertaining, it's engaging. There's been 2 seasons, and I fear there's not going to be a 3rd, because it seems like it should have come out by now. But you can go on Netflix and watch it. It's really good. Just put your fingers in your ears when they say they drop the F-bombs. There's not that many of them, but it just shows how, like when the immigrants came to America and established the mafia in New York and whatever. I mean, it's a reverse tale of him going to this lily white place called Lilyhammer, where there really isn't any crime, and boy does he stir some up. And it's kind of lighthearted. I mean, it's not dark and dread. It's not The Godfather, you know. It's good. Lilyhammer. 3 bells up. All right, go ahead.
Okay, the grains are pulling back a little bit here today. Not much, but they're kind of on the highs of the day, including the wheat. I'd be inclined to sort of stick with them. The OJ has broken out to a new high, so this is really rather a sign of pretty good strength. And it probably means they're still finding that there's damage to the crop from these last frosts, because it's not too cold at the moment, and but the juice is still going up. Now, in the old days, you know, if it got warm, then they'd hammer the juice. You know, they'd knock the heck out of it, go limit down in a minute, and that's not happening this time. So I think that the juice is actually going pretty well. The cotton also kind of looks like it could rally more. Just looking back at the VIXs, based on where we are at the moment, you know, we're sort of closing in on 28. That's a new post-rally high in terms of how the VIXs have come off the 25 level back up to 28. But, you know, if we don't rally this afternoon and we either get worse or even close around here, the likelihood of a further sell-off tomorrow is fairly high. I think this time the Japanese market, which was down last night, could be down further, and there could be a bit of a sell-off around the world, which will mean, you know, potentially lower opening tomorrow. But that might be it. You know, it could rally up from there, or it could keep going. So we just have to play it by ear. But given the way the VIXs are, you know, as long as they close fairly close to the highs today, they probably are still a hold or even a buy. And tomorrow you could get a buy, and you could actually have a bit of a spike, you know, spike move up, possibly back towards 30. And actually, that, you know, even though the market's been going higher, this is part of the divergence. The VIXs were unable to make a new high, the XIVs, and the VIXs themselves were unable to make a new low on this last rally. that is a sign of strength in the VIXs and weakness in the market, or income, impending weakness that we're now starting to see. And there are cracks appearing in the dam. I mean, these airline stocks have really taken a beating this morning. And United, Delta, they're all getting hammered. And and then also with the semiconductors breaking down quite a bit, actually. We went and methodically sold all these things yesterday afternoon, up around I think I remember selling the SOXL at 183 and the tech up around 140, and they're both down very, very dramatically today. I mean, the tech is down, the stocks is down almost $10. This is a very big break and it's going to be hard for them to come back from that. So also the mid cap is down. We pitched the TNA opened higher this morning. We pitched a sell at about 81.5. It opened up around 81, 60, 70, something like that, and now it's down to 78.80. So all of these areas, especially the mid cap, is finally breaking. And mid cap got over 2,000 this morning. So they kind of hit a number of objectives, and the Nasdaq actually failed to get to 7,500, which in itself is a pretty big deal. So this feels like you should be paying attention to it, and you definitely want to be careful, very careful from now on things. So
this Russell's getting hit hard. Let's see, what do we have in last night? Sell 1607. Okay, but those are last week's zones. No, that's this week's zone. How did I get confused on that? I don't typically do that, guys. I had said sell 1607, which is a zone. So you probably passed on it if for some reason you actually sold it. The sell at 1607 took us all the way down to 1598. So that'd be $400 per contract. But I messed up. And when I mess up, I tell you I mess up. And I said consider selling 1607. That's a weekly zone. You got to expect this, when price is coming down, you have to expect this to be support until proven otherwise. Go ahead, John.
So, yeah, you know what? I think these grains might be, and even the metals here might be in a bit more trouble than we think. The nuggets, I wouldn't, they're not quite ready to be bought yet. You could, I think you just got to watch them for a while, and then if they show sign of turning, I'd go back in. But right now they're, if you sold a nugget this morning, 37.50, and it's down to 36.50. That's an extra $1,000, if you're on per 1,000 shares that you put in the bank, if you like. So
look at these bonds falling again today.
Yeah, well, they're rallying a little bit now. That's probably helping the market, But if they start heading down again, that might be a little bit too much for stocks to take, because there are some, there was a thing about a tectonic shift, which is basically there's some downtrend lines that literally haven't been broken for 10 years that are starting to break to the upside. These are complicated spreads with interest rates and stuff. And they tell a bit of a story that inflation is around the corner. And
look, rate increases?
Yeah, definitely, both of them. And, it's not necessarily going to be bad for stocks. A little bit of inflation is very good for the GDP, helps the GDP, and helps stocks higher as long as it's not too high. When it starts getting out of hand, and the interest rates start getting too high, that's when stocks tend to suffer. So But the gold, I think when you look at the overall picture, the fact that gold, is actually keeping pace with stocks almost in terms of gains over the last couple of years, and is actually starting to outpace them again on the upside, and has already started rallying, ahead of stocks or along with stocks. That's a perfect, perfect scenario, and is very similar to what happened in 2005. So,
John, there's a question for you. Can you define a sign of turning?
Turning?
Yeah.
Well, look, there's different types of turns.
Sure.
I mean,
let me just show you on the chart I have. Let me. If price gets above this line right here, I'm pretty confident that the market's turning up.
Yeah, look, with these turns, you have to try and get in, near where it turns, because the problem with buying it higher is you expose yourself.
You have more risk, because if you get in way up here, you got to put your stop way down here.
Yeah.
And so on a smaller time frame, if you can recognize the turn, you may not catch the exact bottom, but I mean, let's face it, when this low came, there were buyers camped out over here waiting to pounce on this thing because they saw what happened here.
Yeah. Remember what I said yesterday in the closing minutes? I said copper looks like a buy. I realized it afterwards, looking at it last night, when we actually put out a buy on it near the lows. We just took a shot at it, and it sort of had a 50%. Copper, if you remember, took off from the 280s, 290s, and shot up to 320 something, and then had this big correction down to about 311 or so. It looked like a 50% retracement, and it just took off last night, and copper's actually up almost $12 on the day. That's one of its biggest moves in a long, long time. It's actually been up about $14 today. So that's a huge, huge move for copper. And by the way, palladium, which we also bought on this dip, is back again, hitting 1107 a minute ago, looking very strong also. These are the sort of markets that sort of make life interesting. This is a really great market today. So far, there've been quite a lot of trading opportunities. So,
what was Trump's tweet of the day today?
Well, he I don't know. He didn't really say much. Last time I looked, he was talking about Davos or something, or I think he's talking about going to Davos or jobs, being America first. Tremendous investment.
Tell us what really goes on at Davos.
Well, you got a meeting of all these most rich guys, really rich guys, billionaires go there, and heads of government and delegations. So it's an opportunity for 4,000 or 5,000 top people in the world to meet, and I think there's a lot of I mean, it's a brilliant idea. The guy who came up with this idea is making a fortune out of it, because he's got a captive audience now every year, and it's become a kind of I guess if by the 20th time you go to Davos, you might be getting bored with the place. It might be better if you did it in different places around the world, but on the other hand, it's very secure, and they're able to it's kind of remote, so it fits the picture. But I'm sure there's a lot of business done there, and there's a lot of interchange, and it's a lot of it's a way to get to make contact with all kinds of different people from around the world. So it's definitely a good thing.
So the next government shutdown is 15 days away, and they say it already looks like it is that.
Well, because of this Schumer guy, he's now saying that the wall, is
with keeping the country financially stable I mean, we're already $17 trillion in debt. I mean, goodness gracious.
20 trillion.
Is it 20? Okay.
Yeah. But look, the real story is Trump has single-handedly made, I mean, if you top it up between the 500 billion arms sales, I think there's a few people gone in with Apple now, so the kitty's already up to about 50 billion in repats, in 10% of the repats. So, and then the money saved in the F-15, you could probably throw another 50 billion between that and the Air Force One program. So, altogether it's about 600 billion, thanks to Trump. And they're going on about this wall. I mean, and they're saying, oh, it's a waste of money. Look, first of all, it's going to provide a lot of jobs. So it's kind of like a stimulus program in a way. It's got to be done. Look, President Vincent Fox from Mexico was on yesterday. He was on two different programs, and he was like two different people. When he was on Hannity, he was all saying, oh yeah, we should build a wall. It's a good idea. And Hannity started out, you deported 146,000.
Oh, you're talking about Vicente Fox?
Yeah.
I saw him last night on Hannity. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good interview actually. I thought he did very well, and he deported 146,000 Central Americans out of Mexico. When he was in the...
Oh, so people coming up from what, Colombia?
From Central... Yeah, no, more like Central America, more like.
Okay.
And so, he sort of went along. He said, look, build a wall, but we're not paying for it. That was his main thing that he was saying.
Does Mexico have... Do they have a formal immigration program? I mean, can you legally immigrate to Mexico?
Yeah, you can. They actually, they don't take a whole lot of people, but they take, maybe a few thousand people a year. It's not.
We have a mission down there, but I had some friends who were missionaries who lived there, I don't know, 7 to 10 years, and they had to get a special kind of visa after they were there a certain amount of time. It didn't make them a Mexican citizen, but it allowed them to stay in the country and to do, the good work that they were doing. And they got approved with gold stars left and right because they were doing so much good work and helping so many, poor people down there. Do you know what that's called?
Look, it changed the rules.
Oh,
they changed the FM3, FM2, and FM3.
Yeah.
FM3 was like a year visa, and it was a little book, like a passport. Mm-hmm. FM2 is a same thing, but it's a 5-year. They now have a kind of a card, ID card, like the hologram card.
With a hologram on it, right?
Right, and you either get a 1 year or a permanent. I don't think they have the 5-year anymore. It's you're either a permanent resident, or if you qualified for permanent residency, and permanent residency is actually a pretty good deal because you get all the benefits of being in the country without the drawbacks necessarily, and you get a certain, you still have the protection of your embassy if you're a foreigner.
How does that affect you crossing the border with merchandise? Do you still have to
I think if you're going into the U.S., you have to declare it, and you have to be, and you get what you're allowed to bring into the U.S. And if you're coming back, it's the same. You get treated like a citizen, effectively.
We were headed down to the mission one Friday afternoon, as we used to do every other weekend for years, and I stopped at Walmart, bought a brand new TV for our little trailer that we had on the beach, and I was just feeling full of myself, I guess, because people had told me, okay, you got to take your new TV out of the box. You got to beat it with a chain so it looks old, and no, not me. I left it in the box, brand spanking new, and instead of getting the green light, like we would always stop. When the border came in sight, we would stop, we would hold hands, my wife and I, we would pray for a green light, because we were always smuggling stuff in to the kids at the mission or wherever, and, well, we got the red light. He pulled us over. He goes, what's this? I'm like, it's a television. Oh, brand new, huh? Yeah. He says, follow me. He took me into this little room and set me down. He said, you brought that in illegally. You didn't declare it. I said, boy, I sure am sorry. He said, you know, I could take your truck and the TV. I said, I know you could. I pray you won't. He said, I'm going to have to fine you. And I said, I completely understand. He said, I'm going to have to fine you $35. And I said, okay. He said, do you want a receipt? I said, no, I don't need a receipt. He goes, then 20 will do. I never handed over a $20 bill so fast in my life. You know, and these guys are no joke at the border, man. I mean, they are heavily armed. We're talking pistols and long guns and you name it. You don't mess around. And another time, it was near Christmas, and my wife had a bunch of baby dolls stuffed behind the back seat of the truck. And this lady, she figured out how to make that back seat flop down. And there was all those baby dolls headed for the kids at the mission. And she picked up one and just kept staring at it and staring at it. And my wife, thanks to her quick wit, she said, do you like that one? And the lady looked at her and goes, my daughter would love it. And so my wife just kind of pushed it to her and said, Merry Christmas. And the lady slammed the seat back on the truck and said, Merry Christmas to you. We got in the truck and drove off. We had about 40 turkeys in the back and coolers. I mean, oh my goodness. That's when I was a younger man. I don't know if I would take those same chances today.
Yeah, no, look, it's pretty, there's so many people crossing these days that, you know, there's, they're a lot smarter with goods coming in these days. You know, they've got internet there, they know all the prices, they know a lot of the tricks, so it's not like the old days anymore. It's all under surveillance as well, you know. Like
when we started going, it was like 98, 99. That's when we built a mission down there, and the internet was just coming into Puerto Penasco, and it was all dial-up, and oh my goodness. And then along came cable, and it was amazing. I'd already seen the transformation of people in America with access to the internet, and then I got to see it again in the country of Mexico. It really changes quality of life for better or worse.
Mm-hmm. The sell-off is accelerating.
Let me get back to the S&P here. Bang, guys, we just hit the zone right on the nose. Now, what do we expect to happen? We expect this to be good support until proven otherwise. Look at how many hours we consolidate. These are 30-minute candles. 1, 2, 3 hours we consolidated before we finally broke through. Over here, we sliced, came back to the zone, continued in the direction of the slice. That is such a well-defined pattern, and if you've been watching the show for any length of time, I've pointed it out numerous times. Here it is. Well, this one was consolidation, move up, come back, confirm good support, and off we go. So, doesn't make me a prophet, doesn't give me a crystal ball. It all comes from historical observance of how markets work. And that's what we endeavor at CFRN, is to not teach you some silly parlor trick, you know, with some phony baloney indicator, but to actually teach you how markets work and how to read a chart. And once we teach you how to read a chart, then we're able to teach you how to trade. You know, once upon a time, somebody taught you how to drive. You're probably 40, 50, 60. Wow, how important a role did that person play in your life where they taught you how to, they gave you freedom. You can go anywhere. Same with trading. Once you know how to trade, you never need anybody else. You don't need a Wall Street Journal. You don't need CNBC. All you need is a trading platform and some money in an account. Trading is not easy, but it can be simple. Go to apply.cfrn.net and find out. Okay, John, what else? How else do we want to change the world today?
Well, just stay with what we're doing. Look at the gold. It's breaking out after all.
Okay.
And
I'll have to
and the
eat
silver.
I'll have to eat my hat on that
nugs,
one.
yeah, the nugs just. I told you it could be a really strong day. That we haven't had a day like this in eons, you know. And I actually believe the silver could end up, you know, three quarters, maybe even 70, 80, maybe even $1. It could go wild towards the day's end. This is really, you know, I think people are starting to get a little bit antsy here with this market, with the Nasdaq down 64 now. I think it'll rally a little bit here, but if it falls over again and starts hitting new lows, and by the way, Nvidia just started breaking down again. It's starting to look like a real problem. And what I've noticed about Nvidia is when it starts a correction, it tends to go on for quite a few days. Once it turns, the stock has been very, very strong since the 195 or so, right up to 240. But this feels like a potential top. Now, if anything misses here in the next couple of days with some of these high flyers like Facebook, Google and co, then you know, the market could really get hammered, is the way I see it.
I just ran a Fibonacci extension, John, from the last leg up. I don't know if you can see it, but I drew from here to the retracement low, and the Fibonacci math shows these as potential upside targets. And the 100% extension takes us up to, what is it, 1060 or 1366. So the zone.
Remember, I did say that we were going to, you know, that we'd see a very rapid move upwards.
No, and you did yesterday, and I talked about that in the room this morning. You really nailed that call. Thanks
very much. Thanks. You know, you know, what everybody's forgotten about is we haven't been in a bull market in gold for 2 years. You know, we've basically been in a correction. We've had some pretty good rallies, but remember what happened in May 16. I mean, once the gold really got going, you know, it was hard to catch. And I think we're just going into that mode right now. And I tell you, you know, if we get over 18 on the silver, I mean, just like John Murphy said, you know, it'll probably go up $1 a day, not necessarily consecutively, but it'll probably go up $1 a day, 18, 19, 20, 21. And once we get past 21, it'll probably go crazy. I mean, it could be 20. I'm looking for 27, and it could happen really rapidly. So look at the VIXs now. They're on the high of the day. This is the highest they've been in weeks. And that's you know, the more the VIXs go up, the worse the market gets, because they kind of play off each other.
Mike had an interesting comment, because this is back when I asked you about Davos and the economic summit. Mike says, they talk about global warming, but yet there's 100 private jets used to get them there.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike is asking, can I draw a line across the tops of the weekly gold chart? Sure, I can do that. Let me go over here. Turn this into gold. And change it to weekly. I'm gonna get one of those. I'm gonna get one of those apps. Oh, you're kidding me. Alright, I guess I'll have to do it over here. It says I'm out of... I gotta call Bert and get him to increase my number. Let me try it again. TGC. Yeah. Okay, now let's see if we can get a weekly up.
By the way, I wouldn't rule out, you know, multi-100 point down day today on the Dow. You know, we were up 140 and we're down 90. We're almost down 100 now. That's a very big return, very big turnaround. And it's, you know, we haven't seen, this is the last time, you know, we had one of these reversals. It got negated. I think the likelihood of that happening again is gone down a lot. So this is a much more dangerous sell-off that's going on right now than what we saw before.
Mike, is this the chart you wanted? You said weekly on gold. Squeeze it in. Well,
yeah, they could see us go up to 75, 1375, which is going to be a very, very key area. Dwayne, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
We might gap through that tonight. We might gap through that line.
Watch the London Open tonight. There was a lot of gold bulls on the London Open last night.
Yeah, this market might just be in trouble here. Yeah, there's been so much hype about it. Look, the SOX is, Jesus, look at the SOX. It's down from 183 to 171 now. I mean, this is a really big deal.
Is the S&P broken through? Oh, the zone's still holding for now, guys. But when it breaks at 24, you want to trade this thing to 20. It's a nice 4-point trade. If it breaks through the zone, trade 24 to 20. It's a nice 4-point. That's double your goal for the day.
Yeah, look at Texas Instruments, which is one of the key leaders.
Is that still TI? Is that the symbol?
No, Texas TXN.
TXN. That stock gapped down this morning. It rallied a bit, and it sold off, and it's down $10 to $11 now. That's. I mean, this is down 10% on the day. Speaking of Texas Instruments, is Radio Shack still in business?
Sort of, yeah. It's on its last legs. But
are they still publicly traded?
I haven't looked recently.
Do you remember what their symbol was?
I think it was Shack, SHAK or something.
SHAK. Radio? No,
sure,
that's Shake Shack.
Sure.
Let me just go. I don't know if you watch Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon. That might be a foreign language to you. It's
No, I don't.
Okay. Because there's one episode where, as a kid, Young Sheldon, his mom takes him to Radio Shack because he's a kid genius, and he goes, in an ever-changing world, it's awfully nice to know that there's some things that will always be constant, like Radio Shack. He was saying this back in the late 80s, early 90s. Radio Shack.
Yeah, can't say that about anything anymore.
Boy. Well, I went into a Radio Shack near where I live not too very long ago. I needed some smoke alarm, burglar alarm batteries, and I went in there, and I'm like, why would somebody come here? There's not that much choice, and the prices seem a little on the upside. You can still buy shares in the bankrupt retailer Radio Shack if you really want, but even the company will tell you there really isn't much point. More than 1 million shares of Radio Shack traded Thursday. Oh, this is old.
I don't think they trade anymore. I don't think there's a symbol for them.
We might have some here. Let's see. Okay, Radio Shack's at 31 cents a share.
Oh, okay. What is the symbol? RSH.
Gee, you would RSH.
Yeah, it just would have been a good buy a few days ago. Actually, had a bit of a rally. So.
Yeah, but I just wonder what the plans are for restructuring, rebuilding. Maybe they'll go on the blockchain, and that'll save them. As a joke.
Look at Sears. Take a look at Sears. It's the same. They're both in the same boat.
What's Sears symbol?
SHLD.
And isn't JCPenney pretty much in the same boat?
Actually, I think Sears is still trading. Yeah, they are still trading. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Sears $3.25. I mean, all of these anchor tenants. I went on. I forget what site I was on the other day, but it had like 27 different pictures in different cities of major big malls that used to be packed with people on any given day, and now they're closed, And the photos were from inside the malls, and it was like this eerie kind of a ghost town with stuff starting to fall down and the roofs leaking. And I mean, just a couple years ago, they were vibrant entities. That's got to paint some kind of picture of what the future holds for us.
Mm-hmm. By the way, we're also long another thing here called silver, USLV, and it's going pretty well. I think I pointed this out on the radio when it was
Is this a stock?
around nine and a quarter. Yeah, USLV. It's a triple silver. And that was the giveaway when we made a double bottom in December. We didn't make a lower low on that, and that was the equivalent of a 2009 bottom in a way. And if you look at the monthly, it looks very, very bullish, this chart.
For some reason the chart doesn't come up for me.
USLV.
Oh, LV?
Yeah.
V as in Victor?
Yeah, V at the end. SLV. Yeah,
okay, I put in the wrong thing. Credits, now that brings me up. USLV brings me Credit Suisse, AGNA Velocity. You see my screen?
Yeah, that's the one.
I typed in USLV.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Oh, this is it?
That is, yeah.
Oh,
Look,
okay.
Check out a year. Put out a year or even a 5-year on it.
Whoa. This thing's been basing out now for 3 years.
Yeah, it's breaking out. That's the good news. It's breaking out.
Okay, and you got a breakout. Do you got a price where you're confident to step in and buy it?
I'd still buy it here. Yeah, I think it looks good. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to buy it at $12.60, we'll say, and you're going to put a stop down at about $12.30. So you're going to risk 30 cents a share for, based on a 5-year chart, some pretty powerful potential upside.
Yeah, well, we've been long since the lows at 9.5 about. So
I mean, right, I mean, it's at 13, and if it just got back up to this little right here, I mean, you're picking up almost $90 a share.
Mm-hmm.
Now, now, explain what this is.
It's a triple on the. It's like SLV.
Okay.
Which is a silver. iShares, silver. It's made up of a bunch of silver stocks. And if you look at it's like this one on steroids. So it's a triple. It's triple rather than a single. If you look at SLV.
Let me do that.
And actually, SLV looks much more bullish than the USLV. Which may be a good thing because it means that the SLV doesn't have the premium in it, and it's probably got to play catch up.
Boy, I know somebody that loaded the boat on silver way up here. Talk about buying the high of the market. Good God. This stuff doesn't go bad sitting in a gun safe, does it?
I don't know.
I'm kidding. Oh, I hope it doesn't. For my friend.
Yeah. So, well, it's been a good day. Thanks very much for the invite. And
John, it's a pleasure.
We'll catch you tomorrow.
Always. Yes, sir. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye now. And don't anybody type in that, yes, silver goes bad sitting in the vault, because I don't buy it. All right? All right. So, on the S&P last night on the Concierge Trade Alerts, we said consider buying 28.47. There was $400 per contract available in that trade. Doesn't mean you made $400. Just means that's what the market made available. If you're trailing your stop, you got taken out somewhere. On the sell side, 28.35 took us down to 27. Oh, it looks like 26. So what is that? 9 points, $450 per contract available. See how we came down, hit the zone, and bounced? Okay. Does that mean it's over? No. Look at the bounce here. Okay, it could come rearing back down. I would be willing to trade it long if it got back over 28.47. From here, I would trade it short, 29 to 27. Would I get in it right here? Absolutely not. On the Dow, said to consider buying 26,255. That ran up 100 points. And we said consider selling this number. And well, as you can see, that just might have got you stopped out. Probably did, for the record. Actually, I don't know if I have that line in exactly the right place. Let me check. Probably. Dow, sell 26085. 260. Did I get it? Stop. 26085. And the swing low was 26087. We were saved by 2 ticks. So if you were selling on a stop here, it turned 2 ticks early. Important prices, important areas. Man, I just can't stress that enough. I hope you guys are getting this. Russell alongside, probably stopped out if you took the trade. And on the short side, for the Russell, we were looking to sell 1607, which was a mistake. If you took it, you did well, but I messed that one up. On the NQ, by 69.68, ran up to the highest weekly trading zone and turned down. $600 per contract available. Triggered the sell side as well, two-sided action. This was $900 per contract, and as you can see, it's gone substantially further. Gold, we've discussed at length. We said consider buying 1344. By the way, these are all this week's zones. And we consolidated, made that move. It's this move right here. I know I've drawn it 1,000 times, but there could be somebody new that's never seen it. This is the zone. Break through the zone, pull back to the zone, and you're long. Okay, so what did it do? Boom, boom, boom. Right? Right. Okay. So, I had said this morning in live trading room, I thought that could be the high of the day. I was wrong. No problem admitting that. And I said I wouldn't want to be long until I got over this line here. So I ran some Fibonacci price projections from this low to this high to the pullback low. And we're right up against a 38% price extension, then a 50, then a 62, then the next zone, and there's a 100% price extension. Okay. So for anybody that got into this gold trade last night, congratulations, that was a real humdinger. Now, we said to consider selling 149.04 on the 30-year Treasury bonds, notes, whatever. If it had come all the way to 148.04, where the horizontal line is on my cursor, that would be $1,000 per contract. I know. Soybeans, giddy up. Buy 991, and this was the sell side. Buy 991. 3 3/4 points, $50 per point per contract available. And the only other one would be the crude. And on crude last night, we said to consider buying 64.95. It should be right about here. Now the Concierge Trade Alerts come out daily, but the weekly trading zones, they come out once a week, Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And once they come out, we do not change them, manipulate them, massage them in any kind of way. They are carved in stone. So from 64.95, we made it up to the high of this candle. But see, that was during crude inventories, and we tell everybody to stay flat during crude inventories. So you wouldn't have been in this move, but you could be in this move, okay? And so far this has gotten up to 65, call it 25. So what are we talking about? $300 per contract available. Okay. And on the sell side, 63.90, which no trigger. So that is the tail of the tape, as they say. What's the S&P doing? Look at that bounce. Look at this. Pings the zone, comes down and pings the zone. You should really take a screenshot of this, because this is like perfect textbook action, and it won't always be perfect. Remember, the market does the same thing every day in a slightly different way. All right. Good word for the day. Are you rich? What is rich? How do you define rich? Prosperity. Remember the prosperity gospel? Hey, God's going to put 2 Cadillacs in your driveway if you just believe. I hope I didn't step on anybody's toes, but I got caught up in that in the 90s for a minute, and then I came to my senses. I do think God wants good things for his children. I mean, what father doesn't want good things for his children? So rather than talk about how we define rich, let's talk about God's definition of rich. Proverbs 10:22 from the Amplified. The blessings of the Lord, it makes truly rich, and he adds no sorrow with it, neither does toiling increase it. Ooh. You're saying that if I am rich by the world's standards, it's not my toiling, it's not my intelligence, it's not my intestinal fortitude, it's God's blessing that allows it to happen. That's a powerful scripture, huh? Doesn't mean you should quit your job. It said the famous publisher William Randolph Hearst saw a picture of a beautiful painting and became very interested in acquiring it for his collection. He sent agents all over the world to search for it, but they couldn't find it anywhere. A year later, out of the blue, one of his employees came and told him that the painting had been found. Excited about the discovery, Hearst asked where it had been unearthed. His employee said, "It was in a crate in your warehouse. You owned it all the time." The problem was, Hearst had never read the ledger that had the record of everything he owned. Reminds me of the story of a guy who owned a substantial piece of property, and he wanted to sell that property so that he could go out into the world and find his fortune. After much time, he finally sold that property for far less than he felt it was worth, because he really needed to get out there and find his fortune. While he was out there finding his fortune, which it didn't turn out quite so well, the guy who bought his property discovered a diamond mine. Boy, that'll chap your hide, won't it? Now, Hearst didn't read the ledger, so he didn't know he owned the painting. Your Bible is a ledger filled with blessings that God wants you to experience. And none of these blessings are greater than salvation, but it's not the only blessing. The blessing of the Lord, it makes truly rich, and he adds no sorrow with it, neither does toiling increase it. John D. Rockefeller once said he'd exchange his fortune for a chance to go back and work as a clerk in his old office in Cleveland, Ohio. Why would a man like John D. Rockefeller say that? Because the stress had caused him to suffer bouts of insomnia, ulcers, depression. You see, the blessing of God brings success without stress. Ask a guy who built an orphanage with no money and no know-how. He and his wife could tell you for days. God tells you about this in his word. He wants you to be rich in your relationships, in your health, in your peace of mind, yes, in your career, and in everything that concerns you. So get to know what God has promised you. In prayer time, figure out what he has specifically created for you. Then begin just communing with him, spending time with him, and believing that whatever he says, because he is God, not a man that he would lie, will come to pass. And that's our good word for the day. I dare say it might even be a great word for the day. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it for this Wednesday hump day, 24th day of January 2018. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.